If you want to see what your PS5 can actually do visually, these 25 games with ray tracing will show you exactly what next-gen lighting looks like in action. The very first game on this list is Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it remains one of the most visually impressive ray tracing showcases on the PS5, even years after launch. Insomniac games used ray-traced reflections brilliantly throughout the game, with every rain-soaked street and gleaming skyscraper window reflecting the city around Miles as he swings through a snow-covered New York. The RT Performance mode gives you real-time ray tracing at 60 frames per second, which is genuinely impressive. This is still the game people point to when explaining what PS5 graphics are capable of. Coming in at number 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart pushed ray tracing on the PS5 further than almost any launch-era game. Insomniac built an entire dimension-hopping adventure around instant world transitions, and the lighting throughout is consistently breathtaking thanks to ray-traced reflections and ambient occlusion. Every shiny metallic surface, every alien marketplace, and every sci-fi vista benefits from the technology in visible and meaningful ways. It also runs at 60 frames per second with ray tracing active, which was a major achievement at the time and still holds up as a technical showcase right now. 3 on the list goes to Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, the PS5 rebuild of the original 2018 game that added ray-traced reflections and brought the entire experience up to current-gen visual standards. Swinging through Manhattan with ray tracing on turns every wet road surface and glass-covered building into a mirror of the world around Peter Parker, and the effect is genuinely stunning at street level. The remaster also includes the RT Performance mode that later became a signature feature for Insomniac games on PS5. If you have never played the first game, the remastered version is absolutely the way to experience it. 4 is Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Insomniac's massive PS5 sequel that builds on the ray tracing work from both previous games and pushes the visual fidelity even further across a bigger and more densely detailed version of New York City. Switching between Peter and Miles while ray-trace reflections catch the light across rain, glass, and water in real time is genuinely one of the most impressive visual experiences the PS5 has to offer right now. The city feels alive in a way that goes beyond just great geometry and textures, because the lighting actually reacts to the world dynamically at all times. Gran Turismo 7 earns the 5th spot on this list as the definitive example of what ray tracing can do for a racing game on the PS5. Polyphony Digital implemented ray tracing in replays from launch, and later brought real-time ray-traced reflections to actual gameplay through the PS5 Pro update, allowing players to see accurate car-to-car reflections on vehicle surfaces during races. The results are genuinely photorealistic in ways that screenshots barely do justice. For anyone who cares about automotive realism in gaming, Gran Turismo 7 with ray tracing active is about as close to real life as console gaming gets today. Number 6 is Returnal, Housemarque's roguelike third-person shooter that uses ray tracing to enhance the atmospheric lighting throughout its alien world environments in deeply effective ways. The game's loop takes you through a procedurally generated planet called Atropos, and the combination of high-octane bullet hell combat and strikingly realistic light behavior makes every environment feel genuinely otherworldly. Ray-traced reflections and ambient occlusion add real depth to the alien architecture and organic structures you fight through. The visual quality here punches well above what the gameplay screenshots suggest when you see it running in motion. 7 is Control Ultimate Edition, Remedy Entertainment's third-person action game set inside the brutalist concrete brutalist headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control, and it is still considered one of the best examples of ray tracing on any console. The game uses ray-traced reflections across translucent office windows, polished floors, and glass surfaces throughout the oldest house, and the results transform what could have been a dull setting into a genuinely striking environment. The PS5 version offers quality mode ray tracing with performance improvements over the original PS4 version, and it remains a must-play demo of what the technology actually does to a game's atmosphere. Coming in at number 8 is Alan Wake 2, Remedy's critically acclaimed survival horror sequel that is widely considered one of the best-looking games available on PS5, and one of the strongest ray tracing showcases on console hardware right now. The game leans heavily into light as both a mechanic and an aesthetic, with flashlight beams, flares, and environmental lighting all rendered with ray-traced accuracy that makes the dark forests and rain-soaked urban environments feel genuinely terrifying. The difference between ray tracing on and off in this game is dramatic and immediately noticeable even from normal gameplay distances. Resident Evil Village earned spot 9 as Capcom's visually rich survival horror game set across a haunting European village and castle, where ray tracing significantly improves the moody lighting throughout. The castle's stone walls, candle-lit corridors, and reflective floors all benefit from ray-traced shadows and ambient occlusion that deepen the atmosphere in ways that standard rasterization simply cannot match. Capcom's RE engine has been consistently impressive across console generations, and Village on the PS5 with ray tracing enabled represents one of the cleaner horror game visual experiences available on the platform today. Number 10 is Resident Evil 2 Remake, Capcom's acclaimed survival horror remake that received ray tracing support on PS5 and transforms the Raccoon City Police Department into one of the most atmospherically lit environments in any horror game on the console. The flickering emergency lights, reflections on wet tile floors, and shadow behavior throughout the police station all respond to ray tracing in ways that make the already tense experience feel even more immersive. If you want a shorter but genuinely excellent ray tracing horror game that you can finish in one sitting, this is an outstanding choice that holds up beautifully. 11 goes to Resident Evil 4 Remake, Capcom's masterfully rebuilt version of one of gaming's most beloved action games that also uses the RE engine's ray tracing capabilities to deliver some of the best lighting in any action game on PS5. The rural European village and castle environments are drenched in atmospheric light behavior, with torchlight flickering realistically off stone surfaces and water reflections behaving accurately throughout. This game also has the benefit of being an exceptional action game on top of the visual quality, making it easy to recommend to players who want both great gameplay and a strong ray tracing showcase in the same package. Coming in at number 12 is Elden Ring, From Software's legendary open-world action RPG that received ray tracing support after launch and uses the technology to make the dark fantasy landscapes of the Lands Between look genuinely breathtaking at their best. Ray-traced global illumination changes how sunlight falls across the ruined architecture and sweeping vistas throughout the game, and areas like Lindau and the mountaintops of the Giants take on a new level of visual depth with the feature enabled. It is demanding on the hardware and does impact performance, but the visual improvement in certain environments is genuinely striking. 13 is Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red's massive open-world RPG set in Night City that is widely regarded as one of the most technically demanding and visually impressive ray tracing implementations on any platform. The PS5 version received a dedicated current-gen update that enables ray-traced reflections, global illumination, and shadow behavior that transforms Night City's neon-drenched streets into something that looks almost photographic during certain moments. Rain-soaked roads at night with ray tracing on in Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the most quoted examples of what the technology is capable of doing to gain visuals right now. Number 14 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, CD Projekt Red's long-running RPG classic that received a substantial next-gen update with full ray tracing support on PS5. The update added ray-traced global illumination and ambient occlusion to a game that already had beautiful environments, and the results are most impressive in outdoor areas like Toussaint, where sunlight and natural shadow behavior create a painterly and rich visual atmosphere. It is remarkable that a game originally released over a decade ago can look this genuinely impressive on modern hardware simply through a well-implemented ray tracing overhaul. 15 is Ghostwire Tokyo, Tango Gameworks' supernatural action game set across a beautifully realized and almost entirely deserted version of the Japanese capital, where ray tracing plays a significant role in creating the game's eerie visual identity. The rain-slicked streets of Shibuya reflect the glow of neon signs, shrine lanterns, and supernatural energy in ways that make the empty city feel both hauntingly beautiful and genuinely unsettling. Ray tracing runs in both the performance-focused and quality-focused modes in this game, giving players meaningful options without forcing a choice between visual quality and smooth gameplay. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition takes spot 16 as one of the few PS5 games that offers ray tracing in both its graphics and performance modes simultaneously, which made it a standout technical achievement at the time of its launch. Capcom's stylish hack-and-slash sequel uses ray tracing for reflections on wet surfaces, vehicles, and the game's detailed character models, and the results are consistently impressive across both game modes. The Special Edition also includes Virgil as a fully playable character, making it both a visual showcase and a content upgrade over the original version in every meaningful way. Coming in at number 17 is Horizon Forbidden West, Guerrilla Games' massive open-world sequel that uses ray tracing on the PS5 to enhance reflections and environmental lighting across some of the most visually stunning landscapes available on the console. The game's hybrid world of overgrown ruins and natural wilderness benefits enormously from realistic light behavior, especially during sunrise and sunset, when the interplay between direct light and shadow creates genuinely cinematic moments during ordinary exploration. The PS5 Pro version expands on this further with improved ray tracing performance that makes the already beautiful game look even better.
18 is God of War Ragnarok, Santa Monica Studios' critically acclaimed action epic that uses ray tracing to elevate its already extraordinary visual presentation across the 9 realms. The reflective surfaces of Asgard, the frozen lakes of Niflheim, and the fire-soaked environments of Muspelheim all benefit from accurate light behavior that makes these mythological settings feel physically real in a way that adds meaningful atmosphere to the already cinematic storytelling. This is one of the best-looking games on the PS5, regardless of graphical settings, and ray tracing takes the already exceptional visuals into genuinely impressive territory. Number 19 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Square Enix's sprawling JRPG sequel that uses ray tracing to enhance the visual quality of a massive open world that covers multiple distinct regions across the planet of Gaia. From the tropical coasts of Costa del Sol to the sweeping plains of Junon, ray-traced lighting adds meaningful depth and atmosphere to environments that are already richly detailed and beautifully designed. The PS5 Pro version of the game is particularly impressive in this regard, and it represents one of the more visually polished JRPG experiences currently available on the console. 20 goes to Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Hideo Kojima's cinematic open-world sequel that uses ray tracing to enhance its already striking landscape visuals in ways that push the PS5 hardware noticeably. The desolate and beautifully realized environments that Sam Bridges traverses are rendered with exceptional attention to atmospheric lighting, and ray tracing improves how light interacts with water, wet surfaces, and the game's dramatic sky systems throughout. The PS5 Pro version targets higher visual fidelity and performance mode, making this one of the most technically impressive games to release in 2025, and one of the stronger ray tracing showcases on the console. Coming in at number 21 is Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ubisoft's long-awaited open-world samurai and shinobi game set in feudal Japan that uses enhanced ray-traced global illumination technology to create one of the most visually rich open worlds available on PS5. The PS5 Pro version pushes the ray tracing quality even further with improved lighting behavior across the game's dense forests, bamboo groves, and traditional Japanese architecture that gives the world a genuinely cinematic visual depth. The seasonal weather system combined with accurate ray-traced lighting makes exploring Shadow's version of Japan feel consistently and beautifully atmospheric. 22 is Black Myth Wukong, the Chinese action RPG phenomenon from Game Science that became one of 2024's most discussed games and uses ray tracing to create some of the most visually impressive environments available on PS5. The game's densely detailed forest temples, ancient ruins, and mythological environments all respond to ray-traced global illumination in ways that make the world feel genuinely alive with light and shadow. Despite being a relatively new studio's first major release, the visual quality consistently punches at the level of the most technically ambitious AAA games on the platform right now. Number 23 is Ghost of Yotei, Sucker Punch's acclaimed open-world samurai follow-up set in Hokkaido that builds on the visual quality of Tsushima while using PS5 hardware improvements to deliver more detailed and atmospherically lit environments throughout.
The dense forests, snowfields, and coastal regions of Hokkaido all respond to lighting in ways that make exploration feel genuinely cinematic, and ray tracing enhances the natural world's sense of physical believability in every weather condition. This is one of the most beautiful-looking open-world games available on the PS5 right now, and well worth playing for the visual experience alone. 24 is Saros, Housemarque's newest PS5 exclusive that launched in 2026 and uses ray tracing to create a visually striking alien world on the shape-shifting planet of Carcosa that feels unlike anything else on the console. The game builds on the atmospheric visual style that made Returnal stand out and pushes the PS5 hardware further with more detailed ray-traced lighting behavior across its procedurally evolving environments. The result is a game that looks consistently impressive, even in the middle of its intense and demanding combat sequences, which is a meaningful technical achievement for a game running at the performance targets Housemarque is targeting. Rounding out the list at number 25 is Dragon's Dogma 2, Capcom's ambitious open-world action RPG that uses the RE Engine's ray tracing implementation to deliver some of the most impressively lit outdoor environments in any open-world game on the PS5. The dynamic day-night cycle, combined with ray-traced global illumination and shadow behavior, transforms the sweeping fantasy landscapes of Vermont and Batal into genuinely beautiful open-world vistas that reward slow exploration as much as active combat. The PS5 Pro version improved performance with ray tracing active, making this version of the game the best console way to experience Capcom's sprawling and ambitious RPG right now.